Matias Stuven at the SAMS Europe Conference 2017. Welcome, and thank you very much for your time for this interview. Could you maybe briefly introduce yourself and just explain your professional background?
I work in Carlsberg Group and have done so for 3.5 years. Before that, I used to work in a public company in Denmark, Danish Public Broadcasting Corporation. And in both of these areas, I have built up the IT asset management function from scratch. And learnings on how to do that and what are the steps that we need to do in order to deliver on getting a proper IT asset management function.
How is your SAM organized at Carlsberg?
We are organized very much in a small central team in Copenhagen. And we have regional people. We have appointed some of the responsibilities of being part of this, but they are not directly linked to us as such. So we have a very small team in Copenhagen, and then we have elements of that outsourced to India also.
I read that you have more than 21 years of experience in the IT industry. It's
Yes.
quite impressive. So how has the role of SAM changed during that time? Is it a C-level topic now at Carlsberg?
It is, right. So, I think the first and foremost element that has changed is the visibility. Before, it was something that people were discussing and had an understanding about. Now, the visibility with senior management on this is so good that you can move a lot, but by making sure you go in the right direction. So, I think it's the visibility in senior management which is the major difference in that period of time.
So you're now working in the beverage industry.
Yeah.
What would you say? What are the main challenges in SLM in the beverage industry, and how does Carlsberg tackle them?
First of all, I think it's in regards to mergers and acquisition. So the mergers and acquisitions process, and actually when you also let go of some of the legal entities, having that being a natural part of your SAM is really difficult because you're not necessarily part of the initial process. So having to work with that and understanding what are the risks in doing that, that's maybe the area. We are not really good at that right now, I think, to be honest. And it's a different level of maturity. So, and since other breweries are doing this, they are buying other breweries all the time. That's the way to expand. So that's maybe the biggest problem right now in the brewery.
So you already held your speech here at the
Yes.
SAMS Europe, and it was about the best SAM discipline with the lean organization. Could you maybe briefly explain what exactly you discussed earlier this morning?
Probably. It's really important that it's probably the best.
Okay.
In short, it's how do you progress within the responsibilities we have if you don't have the needed funding, if you don't have the needed resources? How do you then even that? How do you progress? So what I've tried to summarize that is in 3 what I call acts, summarizing that you need to build trust and piggyback on existing projects. Secondly, you need to expand your reach by having what I call global SAM communities, where you don't have direct reports, but you have elements where people are working together with you. And finally, to take a very much a structured and slow approach to developing this area and not a full Monty, Big Bang approach.
Based on your personal experience, what are the pitfalls most companies make when developing a SAM maturity model?
The SAM maturity model, usually you do it because of senior management ask you. They want to see some overall, how are you developing, what are you delivering, and how are you progressing on that one. And that is fine. The problem comes in how you measure that and how you make sure that those are linked to activities that you actually can influence. And having that direct link between the roadmap and having the overall responsibility in regards to the SAM maturity model, that is typically the issue on that one. And I wouldn't say we've cracked the nut, but I do think we've gotten at least to a step where it works a little bit for us. That we have made some of the roadmap elements be a part, an integral part of what the maturity model looks like. So that whenever someone feeds me funding for something, I can show what the impact is. But we are definitely not an expert on this area, but I think we've done some of the first steps.
Did you reach any personal milestones regarding SAM during your work time?
Yes, I've reached many milestones actually in that one. And it's important that you stop up once in a while and look at what have your deliverables actually been, because otherwise you always keep looking at the gaps and always look at what I'm not doing good enough. But if you stop up once in a while and do measure then you too look. So yes, having my first global compliance report on some of the major vendors where I knew that it was founded in facts and not in guesses, that was a really major deliverable. And I would say it's not just me, it's the team. I would not be able to do it without the team.
What plans do you have for your SAM in the next years, or maybe at Carlsberg?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think in order to make the glass full, we need to make sure we have, first of all, the scope included and have a tool coverage that is good enough, have it more automated than we do now, and the complexities linked to the budgeting process, which is extremely complex, really is something I need to improve. So if I look at the major areas, it's automation, it's better and tighter budgeting processes, and having a wider reach and scope on my coverage.
Of course, it's still the first morning of the SAMS Europe conference, but what do you like so far?
Well, I think both from the session we had yesterday evening and these in-between sessions, I think it's the very informal way that you can meet up with peers in your area and have a very much, let's say, heart-based discussion, that it doesn't necessarily be you need to go through vendors or very nice PowerPoints that might not be so useful in your daily life. So it's the day-to-day communication that you can have very specific with people that are peers in your group. And so that's maybe the first thing I've noticed that is a difference from other conferences.
Thank you very much for the interview and for your time.
Of course.
Enjoy the conference.
I will. Thank you.